Hello friends, welcome to my channel. Our today's topic is varied language context of the learners, a very important topic relating to language across the curriculum. As we see, each student arrives at school not as an empty slate, but he carries with him language, experiences, and different levels of competencies with different personal, cultural, and social environments. Look at the slide first. I have shown them clearly. Simply speaking, varied language context of the learners refers to the complex and diverse linguistic backgrounds, experiences, and competencies that every single student brings with him through the classroom door. It is the formal recognition that our learners' identities are deeply woven into the languages and dialects they speak. This concept fundamentally moves us beyond a limited binary view of language. The view is that a student simply knows a language or he does not know the language. Rather, it asks us to see that our students' language abilities are multi-layered. They are dynamic and fluid. They can use language based on the situation, the topic, and the audience. A student might be eloquently expressive in the grandmother's dialect. He may be eloquently expressive in his mother's language or his street language with friends, and yet feel hesitant and restricted in the formal language of a textbook. Understanding this varied context is not just an academic exercise, it is the first and most crucial step in learning how to teach the whole child. It is the key that unlocks our ability to connect with their experiences, value their identities, and ultimately build a bridge from the language they already have to the academic language we need them to master. Now, let's proceed to our next slide. In this slide, I have shown different dimensions of varied language contexts of the learners. As we know that learners do not come to the classroom with a single uniform languages background, rather they come from rich and varied linguistic contexts, which significantly impact their learning. This variation can be understood across these different dimensions. The dimensions are sociolinguistic variations, multilingualism as the norm, the home versus school language divide, and contextual and situational variation. So from the slide onwards, we will be studying about the different dimensions of the varied language contexts of the learners one by one. So let's move to the next slide. Now, let me discuss about the first dimension, that is sociolinguistic variation. Have you ever noticed that even within your own family, people speak a little differently? Maybe your grandfather uses words you don't, or your sister uses certain words that sounds completely new to you. This is not a mistake. It is a natural and fascinating feature of human language. It is the first layer of the varied linguistic context of our learners. Roughly, we call this sociolinguistic variation. The core idea here is very simple. A person's speech varies due to a range of social and personal factors. This means that even two people who speak the same language will use it in different ways. And crucially, this variation is not an error. It is a natural and a living feature of a language. So now let's discuss its three important points. Look at the slide. First, there is regional variation of language, what we often call dialects. Language changes as you move from one geographical area to another. For example, the Hindi spoken in Delhi, known as Khari Boli, is systematically different from the Bhojpuri spoken in eastern UP. The Odia spoken in Sambalpur, known as Sambalpuri, is systematically different from the Odia spoken in central, southern, or coastal belts of Odisha. These are not wrong. They are different. They are rule-governed dialects of the same language. Okay. Now let us go to point 2. Language varies according to social dialects, which is more or less influenced by social factors like caste and class. For instance, in languages such as Odia and Hindi, people from different social backgrounds traditionally spoke in distinct ways. The speech of a Brahmin person was often systematically different from that of a non-Brahmin person, with variations in vocabulary as well as pronunciation. These language differences served as a strong indicator of a person's social identity and community. Now let us go to point 3, that is about personal factors. Variation comes from deeply personal factors like our gender and our age, our educational level, or our style of upbringing. When you discuss about gender, sometimes we find in many societies, women tend to use language forms associated with the prestigious standard of the society. This may be linked to social pressures and expectations of the society. As we all know, that women tend to represent status of the family through correct speech in many of our communities. But when you discuss about age, we all know that speech of younger generations differs from their elders. But why? This is partly because of age grading and partly may be due to the generation gap. Another reason may be due to the natural ongoing language change. So what is age grading? Age grading refers to the normal and predictable changes in a person's language that are tied to their specific stage of life. In simple terms, it is the idea that we use different language when we are children, teenagers, adults, and seniors because each life stage has its own social norms and communication needs. For example, children use simplified vocabulary like doggy for dog and pussy for cat during childhood, but gradually they change their words and vocabulary. Now let us study about generation gap. A generation gap refers to the differences in attitudes, values, belief systems, tastes, and behaviors that often exist between two generations. It's a gap of understanding that can make communication and connection difficult between older and younger people. The generation gap is a significant reason for language differences. It is one of the most powerful social forces that drives changes in the people's way of talking. So, in a classroom, the way the students speak in a snapshot of language. So, in a classroom, the way the students speak is a snapshot of language they have grown with. They bring a piece of their social and personal world into the classroom. As a teacher, we should recognize this. This variation should not be seen as a deficit, but as a testament to the living and breathing nature of language. And this is the first step in building a classroom that respects and connects to the rich linguistic identities of every learner. Now let's go to the next slide. Let us now discuss about the second dimension, that is multilingualism. If there is one thing we must understand about the Indian classroom, it is this. Multilingualism is not the exception, it is the norm. Our classrooms are not just rooms with students, they are vibrant, living ecosystems of language. Now let us look at the slide. The point one is about the scale of linguistic diversity. Let's talk about the scale. We often say India is diverse, but the linguistic reality is truly shocking. India is home to hundreds of mother tongues, belonging to great language families like Indo-Aryan, Dravidian, and Austro-Asiatic. Even 8th schedule of our Indian constitution has given recognition to 22 languages till now. This schedule is a symbolic and functional recognition of India's linguistic diversity. This is not just a statistics. This means that in any given classroom, you might have students whose first languages are rooted in completely different linguistic worlds. And because of this, what the National Curriculum Framework calls grassroots bilingualism is not a special skill. It is widespread. It is a everyday reality of millions of Indian children because they navigate multiple languages from their earliest years. Now let us go to the point 2, that is a structured multilingualism of school. This natural multilingualism is then formalized by our education system itself through the 3-language formula. Just think about it. Most of the students are officially expected to learn at least 3 languages in school. Their mother tongue, the regional or state language, and English. The system itself is built on the premise that a single language is not enough. It acknowledges that to thrive in India, one must be adept in multiple linguistic codes. Now let us discuss about the point 3, that is the fluid reality of multiple identities. Normally in your country, we speak one language at home, one language of the street, another of the province, and besides the language of communication. We are also always translating from one language to another. This is not just about knowing different languages. It is about living with them. Our students do not have one single linguistic identity. They have multiple fluid linguistic identities. They have a home self, a street self, and a school self, and they are constantly moving between them. So to conclude, when you step into our classrooms, we are not entering into a monolingual space. We are entering a microcosm of India itself, which is full of rich, complex, and dynamic languages. Let us now discuss about the third dimension, that is the home versus school language divide. At the outset, let me give an example. We find some students talk to their friends for hours together. They effortlessly go on telling stories and negotiating game rules in the playground. But those same students in the classroom sit silently, and we can find them struggling to write even a simple paragraph. Are they less intelligent? What do you think? Of course, they are not less intelligent. What we are witnessing is one of the most critical challenges in education, the home versus school language divide. This is the gap between the language of a student's personal world and the academic language used in school. So now look at the slide, and I have given importance to the mother tongue. That is the foundation of a child's education. Let's start at this foundation, the mother tongue, or the L1. This is not just a language, it is what the National Curriculum Framework calls the language of a child's mental and emotional makeup. It is the language of the heart and the home, and it is crucial for building their first concepts, for critical thinking, and for creative expression. It is the lens through which they first understand the world. Yet, the language of instruction in school is often different. So, it creates the first point of separation. Let us now focus on the two types of proficiency that I have demonstrated in the slide. One is BICS BICS and another one is CALP CALP. First, there is BICS BICS, or Basic Interpersonal Communication Skills. This is the social language of the playground, the canteen, and the casual conversation. Its context embedded. It means we use gestures, facial expressions, and shared situations to make meaning. It's not cognitively demanding, and even in a new language, students can become fluent in BICS relatively quickly. Would you follow? Then there is CALP, that is Cognitive Academic Language Proficiency. This is the language of the classroom. It is the formal, abstract vocabulary found in textbooks. Words like photosynthesis, democracy, or natural numbers. It's the language needed to compare and contrast, to hypothesize, to analyze the things. This language is context reduced. It stands on its own, often without visual or situational clues, and it is highly cognitively demanding. Okay? So, let's focus on functional bilingualism that I have shown in the slide. Functional bilingualism describes a situation where a student develops two separate sets of language skills for two separate worlds. But these skills do not easily connect or support each other. In the context of the school-home divide, it looks like this. Home language, suppose I am giving the example of Odia. The student is fluent in everyday conversational matters, that is BICS. They can talk to a family, play with friends, and express emotions with ease and confidence through the mother tongue, that is Odia. This language is tied to their social and emotional identity. But school language, that is we can say English or standard Hindi, the student struggles but can perform basic, often memorized academic tasks. They might be able to copy from the board, recite a memorized answer, or follow simple instructions. However, they lack the deep cognitive academic language proficiency, that is CALP CALP, needed for critical thinking, analysis, and creative expression in this language. Could you follow? And so here lies the core of the challenge. Many of our students are masters of BICS. They can chat fluently in one, two, or even three languages, but they struggle with the complex demands of CALP in the classroom. We think they can speak so well, why can't they write the simple essay? The problem is not their thinking ability. The problem is the massive but invisible gap that lies between conversational fluency and academic proficiency. So, our role as educators is very clear here. We must recognize that a child's silence or struggle is not an empty mind, but a mind navigating a gap between the language of the home and the language of the school. So, what should be a teacher's role? A teacher's role should be to show them how school language works, to help them practice it step by step, and to support them as they learn it. We must never think a student is slow just because they are still learning this new way of speaking and writing. Okay? Now let us go to the next slide. Now let us study the fourth dimension, that is register. Just have a look at the question mark in the slide. In changing context and situations, sometimes we ask ourselves this question: how should I adjust my language register here? It is true that the way we talk to a close friend is different from how we speak in a formal meeting. This is also different again from how you might talk to a family member. This ability to adapt our language is something we all do, and it is a skill amid our contextual and situational variations. So let's come to the word register. What is a register? We have already discussed about it in our previous episode. Simply put, a register is how language changes based on the situation, the topic, and the relationship between the speakers. Registers can be subject specific, formal, and informal. It's the verbal equivalent of choosing the right outfit for the right occasion. I had just given this example in my previous episode. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine a student who is running late. To their friend, they might shout, "Hurry up." That's an informal register. To the teacher, they would like to say, "Excuse me, sir. We should leave for the assembly now." That's a formal, respectful register. The message is the same here. We need to go, but the language is completely different. The student is not just conveying information, he is navigating a social relationship here. Now, let's take this crucial idea into the heart of learning. This concept of register extends into every single subject in school. Each discipline has its own specialized register. Each discipline has its own way of using language that is fundamental to its very meaning. These are called subject-specific registers. Let us discuss some examples. The language of a science textbook is not just a list of facts. It is full of precise technical terms like organism, evaporation, photosynthesis, and it gives focus on cause, effects, processes, and evidence. The language of history is built on temporal connectors, like consequently, following this event, language of causation, and the interpretation of evidence. The language of mathematics is a universe of precise logical relationships and specialized meanings for common words like product and root. This is not just a difference in vocabulary, it is a difference in the very grammar and structure of thought. So when a student struggles to write a lab report or analyze a historical document, the problem often is not that they don't understand the concept. The problem is that they have not yet mastered the specific academic register. By doing so, we give our students the master key to unlock learning in every way. Now let us conclude with this picture in mind. Look at the slide. It shows the process of positive transformation of a problem into a resource. First, the varied language context of the learners was a problem for all of us. But when we try to understand the learner's linguistic landscape properly and integrate language across all subjects through LSE approach, what happens? Just have a look. Diversity turns into a resource. This is the heart of the language across the curriculum approach. It is a conscious shift in perspective. It is a conscious shift in perspective from seeing this diversity as a problem to recognizing it as a resource for learning. Our job is not to force the plant to grow faster. Our job is to understand its nature, provide the right support, and create the conditions for it to flourish in its own unique and powerful way. Now, this is the end of this episode. Finally, thanks for watching. Kindly consider subscribing my channel. I will come with new and informative videos like this in each episode. Do your work, believe in God, and stay positive.